Great. So I need to now like fire a blender. So I'll do that now and then I'll share my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Let me just set up a blender on my other screen so that I can see what's going on. On the chat, somebody has asked me about slot booking. So there is a slot booking detail that I will discuss. I think I should discuss it now itself. So from now onwards, individual submissions are over. Now, all your submissions will be history related submissions and they will be team submissions. Now, in a team, of course, you can be an individual participant or a team of 2 to 4 people in one team. All right. If even if you're an individual participant, you're still a team. You're considered a team. And so from now onwards, we will have team discussions. For that, you have to book a slot on the website. And when you book a slot on the website, you will basically be notified with a Google link, Google Meet link, and then we can sit and discuss all your issues that you have with your artifact or your research or your blender. And from now onwards, we're going to have like individual slot bookings. If you need like a slot booking, you'll have to like, and you still have some doubt about how to book a slot, you'll have to reach out to Sanjana or me, and then we will tell you what to do. So for tomorrow, the slot bookings are available from 4 p.m. to 7:20 p.m. So I would suggest you go ahead and start booking. We're going to have many individual meetings, one-on-one meetings this week. So there'll be slot booking for tomorrow, day after, on Friday also. Friday is a uh, holy holiday. So we're gonna have some meetings over there also. Still, so the objective is each one of you, like artifact wise or team wise, each one of you should at least have discussed with us at least once. That is the objective. Okay, I hope that is clear. Give me a thumbs up or something if you understood what I said.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Even if you have not done anything, just have a discussion with us. All right. Just get level with us so that we can help you. We can understand what is the issue that you're having. Just have a discussion and we'll sort everything from there. Okay. Moving forward, you guys can now see Blender on my screen. Okay. This is what Blender kind of looks like. So let's start with this. Cool. So this is the normal Blender scene that we see whenever we start Blender, correct? Now, in the Blender scene, we are never going to use this, sorry, this timeline workspace or the timeline editor. We will never use this. So let's do one thing. we can go into modeling. So what happens in modeling? You have already entered into the edit mode of the cube. So we can come out of that edit mode. But what happens is over here, we have the outliner and the properties, and we have the 3D viewport, but there is no more timeline over here. You can bring it if you want, but our objective was to use the screen with information that we want to work with. So right now the timeline is not there, which is good. Now for a lot of people, if you press space, the timeline starts playing this icon over here. So I have disabled it. So how do you disable it? If you go into edit mode, preferences, and I think key map, key map, spacebar action. So instead of play, it goes into search for me. So if I accidentally press space, it will not start playing this. Okay. Now that uh, shortcut has gone into shift space for me. So you can do that if you find yourself accidentally pressing spacebar a lot of times. So if you press space, you will see anim player and a cross next to it. So if your animation player starts playing accidentally, this is how you will know that your animation player has started working. So you can stop that. You can press this icon to jump to the beginning, and in your preferences, in your key maps, you should basically change the spacebar action to search or tools or whatever, but not play. I put it to search because it helps me get more things done faster. Cool. Let's go back to modeling. Again, I have entered into the edit mode of the cube. So we're going to need the cube uh, in this exhibition design. But first and foremost, it is important that we have some certain scale in mind. All right. This should have been done for your table and chair also. So what I am going to do is I will open a particular file which I've already shared with you. So I'll do that here again. So this is the file where I have already shared with you. This is a human figure. Now I am in solid preview. Let's go into material preview. Now this I have already shared. I will share it again, not to worry. So I'm going to copy this by pressing Control C, and then I will go back to my new Blender file over here, and I will paste it, Control V. Now suddenly over here, the human also comes, and this is put over here, human fill. Okay. So now we have an idea. Give me 1 second.
Hello, Madhu sir. You are maybe on mute.
I'm so sorry. uh, Let me say that again. Thank you, Yugam, for pointing that out.
Welcome,
So
sir.
now we can see that the cube is actually quite large. Okay. Now, if I have told way before that a cube has a side of 2 meters and the average human height is of 1.7 meters. So obviously the cube is taller than an average human. So let's check that out. If I move this cube 1 meter in the z axis by pressing G, Z1, press enter. Now the cube is exactly on the floor. Okay. And then if I go into wireframe mode and then go look at it from the side, average human height is about 1.7, which is over here, to 1.8 over here. So this is like the right scale, and the cube is 2 meters. So this seems about right, correct? Now, we know we are going to use this human as a reference for the scale being scale means how big an object is in the 3D viewport. So we're going to use this human as a reference. The first thing that we need to do is bring in the artifact that we have. So let me just hide this cube and this human, and let's start with the artifact again. So I'm looking for the artifact. Just give me 1 second to find it out. In the previous session, we have discussed about goddess Parvati, and we have used Boolean modifiers on this, and we have created this. Okay, we've used Boolean modifiers and we got rid of all the unnecessary uh, 3D model information that we have. So I'm going to copy this and I will paste it in the new file that I have created. I pasted it over here. Let's look at solid view. Okay. Let's look at texture view. Great. Now let's look at the human that we have. Okay. So our human is so big, and the human is on the right scale, but our artifact is really, really big. So originally, I know what the height of the artifact is. The height of the artifact is 1 to 2 feet, not more than that. That basically means if I put it over here and then I scale it, this is the actual size of the artifact. This is the actual size. So you can do this with your artifact also. Put a human over there, see how big your artifact is, and then you can scale it down to a particular size. If you have the exact height of your artifact, then nothing better than that. So how do you use, if you know exactly how big your artifact is? For example, let's say your artifact is 20 centimeters tall. What does that mean? So from bottom to the top, it is 20 centimeters tall. Let's say this is 20 centimeters tall. So how do I get that? So let me just add a plane. I will go into edit mode of that plane, and then I will extrude by pressing E on the keyboard. When I press E on the keyboard, it is going to ask me how many meters do I want this height to be. Now 20 centimeters is zero point 0.2 meters. So if I just type 0.2, so this is 20 centimeters. This one height is 20 centimeters. I'll go back into object mode. Now I can use this to scale this. Now, of course, this is over here. So I want this back to the center. Now, if you remember, we have moved the origin of this artifact. Uh, we have moved the origin of this artifact to the bottom, correct? Now, I've told you specifically why we did that, because it is easy to move the artifact around and it is easy to scale the artifact or the object. As a matter of fact, the human also, the origin is at the bottom, if you see. Yeah, I'll just move fill a little bit to the right. The human also has the origin at the bottom so that it's easier to scale. But you're not supposed to scale the human. As a matter of fact, if you press N in the scaling, you can lock the scaling parameter over here. If you press N, this will open up and then you can close. So what happens when you try to scale, it will not scale anymore. Okay. Screencast, set origin, correct. Great. So you can do that so that you accidentally do not scale the human over here. Now I have, yeah, made this. So how can I use this to scale this? So I'll press Shift S once I select the artifact, and then I'll say selection to cursor. So it will bring wherever that object is, it will bring it back to the 3D cursor. If the 3D cursor is over here, if I press Shift S, selection to cursor, so wherever the 3D cursor is, the object will go and snap itself over there. So how do I bring the 3D cursor back to the center? Again, Shift S, cursor to world origin. Okay. And then Shift S, selection to cursor. If you're not getting the pie menu, so these are called pie menus. All right. So if you're not getting them, you go into preferences, add-ons, and search for pie. In the pie, there are many pie menus. The ones that I mostly use are origin pie menu, Control Alt X, and Shift S. It should be somewhere over here. And if you're not able to find your pie menu over here, you have to go into Get Extensions and then search extensions.blender.org must be on and search over here, pie. And you will get pie 3D viewport pie menu. There will be an install button over here that you can click. All right, coming back to this, I'll go into the front view and then 3D wireframe mode. And I know this height is supposed to be 20. So I'll start scaling it down to this height. This is the height, 0.2 meters, and this should be 0.2 meters. So I'm holding shift for fine tuning. If I don't hold shift, it is going to be really fast, the change. If I hold shift, it is going to be really slow, the change. And that is how you can exactly know. I will delete this plane that I had created because I just wanted the height. So this is 0.2 meters or 20 centimeters. So that is how you can scale your artifact in 3D viewport. I'm going to undo all of that because my artifact is roughly the size of from the head to the stomach area. All right, cool. Let's bring back our cube. Now we can use this cube as a pedestal on which the artifact is kept. So let's look at it from the front view. If I select this cube, now the origin is in the center. So what happens if I scale it now? It scales from the center of the cube. Now I don't want that. I want the origin to be at the bottom of the cube. Now if I had the pie menu option enabled in the preferences, I can press Control Alt X, origin to bottom. So the origin of the cube, which was in the center, will go to the bottom, basically the lowest surface of an object. So if I had rotated it like this cube, and I press Control Alt X, origin to bottom, now this is the most lowest level of the cube. So the origin has come over here. Okay. So just letting you know what that command does. It looks at the vertex which has the lowest Z value, and then it moves the origin to that level. Now, why I did that is it is easier to scale. So when I'm scaling it now, the cube is not going inside the under the floor. As a matter of fact, let's add a plane and call it floor. Now the plane and the cube is of the same size, so I think we can increase the scale, let's say 5 times. So I press 5 on my number pad and press enter. So this becomes the floor, and I've named it floor. I can name this cube. If you select an object and press F2 on your keyboard, you can name it in the 3D viewport. So I will call it pedestal. So, okay. A pedestal is basically where the artifact is going to be kept. I will look at my scene from the front view and then into wireframe mode. I will move this artifact to a level where I think the human should see. I think this is the height that the human should see it from. If my eyes are over here, it the human should actually just be able to see the artifact in this level. Okay. Now I want this pedestal to be somewhere over here. So I can just do this, just eyeballing it, scale. I'm just scaling it, big and small. And if I go into solid view, it's like this. Okay. So we are using the human model and scaling everything in our scene to that human model. I can't scale it anymore, the 3D model, because I have locked the scaling of this human, which is good. All right. So this is fine. This is great. But I feel like this pedestal is too big in the x-axis and the y-axis. So I can make it a little slimmer than what I have. So if I press scale, it starts scaling in all directions, x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. So if I press X, it only scales in the x-axis, Y only in the y-axis, Z only in the z-axis. So there is a shortcut. If I press scale and press Shift Z, now two axes get activated. So it is scaling in the X axis and the Y axis, but not in the Z axis.
Sir, can you repeat, please?
Yes, I will. So basically, what is happening is we already know about scale and constraining that scaling effect in the X axis, Y axis, or Z axis by pressing X, Y, and Z. This is similar to moving an object in the X axis, Y axis, Z axis, rotating it in the X, Y, and Z axis. You are constraining it to one of these axes. All right. So I want this object to scale in the X axis and Y axis, but not in the Z axis. So what I will do, I will press S to scale, enter into scaling mode, and then I will press Shift Z. So it is scaling in the X axis and Y axis, but not in the Z axis. So Shift Z means leave Z axis, but you can scale in the other any other axis that you have, excluding Z
Okay, sir.
axis. So you can make it smaller in one command. You don't have to scale it in X axis first, then Y axis first. You can scale it in one command. So I think this should be a good thickness of the pedestal in the X and Y. So I will click to confirm. All right, great. Now, usually what happens in an artifact, now you have to decide what your artifact is designed to be viewed from. Some artifacts, they have like a flat back. So they are supposed to be against a wall. And some artifacts, they are supposed to be viewed from 360-degree view. So they will have details at the back also. This artifact specifically does not have any detail in the back. So your artifact is supposed to be against a wall. So let's create a wall and put it over here. So we can either copy and do that, but I will tell you a much cleaner or a more sophisticated method of making a wall over here. So this is the flow that we created. Okay. Now one method, let's just get that out of the way. Shift D, I duplicated the floor. And Blender entered into grab mode, which is moving. Okay. It created a duplicate of the floor and then entered into grab mode. If I right click, so if you are not able to understand what is happening, at the bottom over here, you will be given so many options. So you can try them out. I hope you can see what they are. At the bottom, there's so many options that you can do. So if I right click, it cancels the movement, but the object is still there. But it is exactly on top of the previous object, the one I duplicated it. So I can rotate it in the X axis 90 degrees and press enter. And then I can start moving it. That is how you can make a wall. But a better way to make a wall is now I have to clean up this. I have to make a line over there, make a line over there, delete these vertices. A lot of things I have to do. So maybe there could be a better way. So I'll show you that better way. I will delete this demonstration, this wall that I just created. I will go into the floor object, press, no worries, Niharika, it's fine. I will go into edit mode. As soon as I enter into edit mode, these three things are very important. Which selection mode you are in. So I am in vertex select mode. Okay, the first one. So that ways I can select any point on the object. Here, I can press Control R. Okay. As soon as I press Control R, nothing happens. But something will happen when I go close to an edge. Okay. If I go close to this edge, a yellow line starts appearing. It is important that you move your cursor close to an edge once you press Control R. Now, if you move your mouse wheel up and down, it will start showing you more yellow lines. So these are extra geometries. Control R is the shortcut for loop cuts. Okay. Basically, it adds more geometry to your object. So I want a line to be formed over here. I want one vertices over here and over here. And what loop cut does, it finds the equidistant point of two edges. Like this is one edge, the center point is over here, and this is another edge. The center point is over here. So if you go close to this edge, it will start creating a preview of where the line is supposed to come. If I move my mouse cursor, sorry, wheel up and down, I can decide how many loop cuts I need at that moment. For now, I need only one. So I'm going to scroll down and make it into one. I will click once to confirm that I need that geometry over there. And as soon as I click, it will go into sliding mode. So in Blender, you can start sliding uh, two vertices on the edge. Okay. Edge slide, it is called. So it has gone into edge sliding mode. Now, again, similar to duplicate, like as soon as you duplicate object, it enters into grab mode, and then you have to confirm where the location is, if new location is. If you don't want to change the location, you have to right click, so it snaps back to the center. Similarly over here, if I right click, it snaps back to the center where it is. All right, so this is how loop cut works. It creates extra geometry. You can decide how many cuts you want, like how many times do you want that thing to be divided, whatever the surface or the edge. And then once you confirm the number of cuts, it directly enters into edge sliding mode. If you don't want it to slide and move to another location, you have to right click and then get away from that edge selection mode. So basically it puts it right in the center. Okay, cool. So now what we are going to do is we will slide it again. So if I press grab, if I press G on my keyboard, now this is moving in all directions. Now I don't want it to move in all direction. I want it to move in, gets into edge slide mode. Now at the bottom, it is written over here, this one. If I type G again, it says vertex slide, edge slide. Okay. So I was in grab command. If I press G again, I have entered into edge slide again. This is what I was talking about previously. Now, before I do this, there is something I was supposed to do, which I did not do. So I will right click and cancel that command. I will go into snapping, this magnet icon. I will activate the snapping. And then instead of, now I have to mention to Blender, where do I want that snapping to happen? Like what should it take as a reference for that snapping? Should it be like incremental? Incremental like how many distance wise? Should it be like the grid wise, like the grid at the bottom? This is like 1 meter, 1 meter. Or should it be using vertex, edge, face? So I want it to be using vertex. So I'll click on vertex. Slide snapping is on. Now again, these two are, if nothing is selected, you can select these two. Hold shift, you can select this and this. So you have to be in this select box. So if you long press on any of the tools, it gives you more selections. I am still holding the left mouse button. Okay, if you see over here, look at that. I'm still not left my left mouse button. So I will go on to the place where I wanted to select and then leave my left mouse button. Okay, these are a few gestures that you kind of need to get used to if you're working with Blender. So I will just select these two vertices by holding shift, okay? And then G and G, it is sliding. Now, if I go close to any vertex of any other object, it will start snapping to that object, okay? If I go close to this vertex, it will start snapping to that. So I want it to snap to the back of the podium, and I'll press and left click once. All right. I hope this is not too complex for you. Okay. All we did is we made a loop cut. We activated snapping to vertice, and then we started sliding this loop cut, which we just created, and we snapped it to the back of the podium. Now I don't want these vertices. I can delete these vertices. Press X, delete vertices. Now, the reason why you see so many is because my pie menu is active. You don't need to activate your pie menu for this. Okay, I can delete vertices. Select these two vertices again and then press extrude. Now it is extruding in all directions. So I will press Z and move it up. Let's say about 6 meters and press enter. So that is how you can create a wall if you want. And press tab to come out of the edit mode and into object mode. All right, great. So now you have created a podium. You have placed an artifact on top of it, and you have resized the scale of the artifact to the actual size of the artifact in the world. And you have placed it so that if a human is standing next to it, they're able to tilt their head a little low and able to see the artifact. All right, great. What else can I add to make my exhibition? How about posters? If I can make like good posters of the artifact, that will be great. So how do I do that? Okay. If you remember, we have worked with Canva before. So we're going to do that. Uh, we can do that. Somebody suggested me to add glass. Okay, this is a very interesting topic. Why is a glass put in around the artifact?
To protect it from a certain ये touching and it should be ये कि अच्छे से रहे और कुछ कोई टच ना करके खराब ना कर दे आर्टिफैक्ट को.
Cool, awesome. So basically protection. If somebody touches it, if somebody knocks it down or dust, things like that. So if I put a glass around this, which is fine, but who is going to touch this artifact over here? Can you physically go touch this? So yeah, basically you can't. That is the rhetoric question.
No, sir.
So you don't really need a glass around this artifact. Okay, number one, why glass is used in real life and why you can avoid using glass in Blender. Second thing, it is very difficult to render glass in Blender, like unless you have a very good computer, because glass reflection, refraction, a lot of things happen. Glass shaders or the properties of a glass to be rendered in Blender, it takes up a lot of your CPU and GPU resources. So I would suggest avoid glass as much as possible. Now somebody said nameplate of the artifact. Great. That is a very good suggestion. How will anybody know what this artifact is? There's no name written anywhere. So let's try making that nameplate over here. Now, one good way of making a nameplate is using, if I press Shift A, there is a text option over here. But my suggestion is it is very limited in terms of font, style, and scaling and other things. So you can still use it. I will show you how to use it. Let's go into Shift A, text. Now there is a text which has come, but it is on the floor over here. Now, before going there, if you see there is some glitching effect which is happening over here. So this is called Z fighting. Basically, two planes are on top of each other. So Blender is not able to distinguish which surface it is supposed to show. Is it supposed to show you this object or this object? So it is fighting between the two. So that is why it is called Z fighting or Z fighting. Okay. So this is a good thing. It means our model is so accurate that the back of the podium is exactly on top of the wall and floor. Okay. So it is a good sign. If you see this over here, okay, nowhere else. Over here, it is a good sign. Now coming back to the text, let's go into edit mode. To type in a new text, you have to go into edit mode and then press backspace and type Goddess Parvati. Goddess Parvati and press enter. Oh, when you press enter, it goes into the next line. You have to press tab to come out of it. Now I didn't see half of it. So let's go into top view. So this gives me a better view and in wireframe. I will go back into edit mode again. I can still edit it. Press enter, Parvati, and then come out of edit mode. I want it to be justified or center aligned. I don't want this gap over here. I want the gap to be similar over here and here. So I press tab, enter into edit mode. And over here, if you see, it depends on what you have selected, okay? So if you click on this, it says left aligned, center aligned. So this is great. Center aligned is exactly what I wanted. And this is over here. But it is so flat that the Z fighting is happening with the floor. So I really don't want flat. I want some extrusion or some thickness to these letters. So can we do that? So if you go into the, uh, you have to select this to get this option, this text. Go into geometry, there is an extrude option. So if I click and drag, it gives me some extrusion. Let's say 0.03, it gives me some good thickness. Now let me rotate it in the x-axis 90-degree. Press R to rotate, X to constrain it in the x-axis, and then 90, and then press enter. All right. So I want it to be on top of this. Thank God my snapping is active. So I can use that for my advantage over here. Press G, and if I go close to this, now everything shifts to the right. If you see, I'll just click and confirm at once. Everything shifts to the right, but this is not what I want. I want something else. I'll press Control Z. So snapping is still on. G, constrain it in the Y axis, and I will go close to one of these vertices over here. I'll click that. Okay, half of it is inside and half of it is on the outside, which is fine. I don't mind this happening. Now in the front view, I can scale it down. Let me scale it so that it is inside the podium, and I will move it in the Z axis, and I'll place it somewhere over here. This is decent. This looks all right. What would have been even better is if there was a bevel over here, and if that could help us give a 45-degree angle, and we can place it on that. So if I click this, go into edit mode, instead of uh, vertex select, I'll go to edge select. I will select this edge, and then I press Control B, and now I can do this bevel. Now this is not exactly 45-degree. Let me just put like one exaggerated number over here, and go look at it side view. This is not 45-degree. Now why is this happening? Usually it should be 45-degree. Let me undo this. Let me add another cube. Okay, this is another cube. I'll do the same thing to this. Control B. So the distance of this cube from this point to this point and this point to this point, basically it's 45-degree inclined. But if I try to do the same thing to this cube, Control B, I can isolate these two. If I select 1 and 2 and go into local view by pressing /, which is the uh, question mark key. So I can isolate this. I can only see these two. If you see over here, it's written local view. All right. So if you want to like get rid of it's not deleted, it's just hidden. Okay. You won't be able to see it over here. You have to check over here if it is in a local view or not. If I go into side view, press wireframe. So let's just make this a little bigger. Okay, sorry. I'm undoing a little bit. Select this local view, side view. This is the podium. That is the edge that I want to bevel 45 degrees, and press Control B. Why are they at different angles? They're supposed to be of the same angle if everything is fine. So this is happened to you in your Blender table and chair submission also sometimes. Okay. The reason why this is happening is because you have changed the scale of this cube. If you remember, it started as a 2 by 2 by 2 meters cube. And then we changed the scale in all axes, which was still fine. But then we specifically changed the axis in the X and the Y axis, but not the Z axis. So the cube remembers that. That is why it is not exactly 45-degree bevel. So how do we fix this? Let me undo this. Now, if I press when the podium is selected, Control A, that means apply. Everywhere else, any other software, Control A means select all. Okay, but in Blender, Control A means apply. Over here, it says so many options are there. Again, I can see so many options is because my pie menu is active. Over here, you will get like a drop down menu. So here you will select scale because you have changed the scale. Now the cube does not know that its scale has been changed. So you have to select scale. So that scale is now being applied. Let me do this again. If you see, like, if I press N on my keyboard, you can see the scale is different in x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. Now keep looking at this number. If I press Control A, scale, now scale becomes 111. So I have applied the changes in scale to the cube. Now this cube knows exactly what its dimensions are. Okay, which are these basically. So now if I do Control B, it will give me exactly 45 degree. I hope this much is clear. Like if you see, this is parallel to this. Yeah, exactly parallel to this, these two. I hope you understood the difference
Sir,
between.
can you repeat?
Yeah, okay. Somebody put a question, sir, if the artifact has long name, can we make the letters smaller? Of course, you will have to make it smaller. You can't make uh make the letters hanging on the from the sides, right? If you see, like, it is not exactly, my point is, if it is not exactly 45 degrees, that means you will have to apply the scale. That is all you have to remember. Okay, that is all you have to remember. Now I have come out of the local view. I will delete this cube. That was only for demonstration. Okay, now I hope you understood. If it is not exactly 45 degree, like when you are trying to bevel it, then you have to come into object mode. You can't apply scale, rotation, and location in edit mode. You have to come into object mode and then apply scale. And then you try to bevel it, then everything will be all right. Okay. Let's go back to this.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, tell me.
Sir, how do I come out of local view?
Again, press that same key. Which key?
/.
Correct. Okay.
Thank
So,
Sir, which key is the forward slash?
question mark.
Okay, question mark and the slash one now.
Yes. So if you press shift, it will like select question mark. If you don't press shift while clicking that, it will be forward slash. All right, cool. Let's get back to this.
Sir, is
Uh,
it the key above enter /?
it's different for different people. Key layout is different. For me, it is below enter, for example.
No, sir,
Okay.
the forward slash is also there, but it's backward.
That is backward slash.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay, fine.
so
Uh,
how do I get this whatever you're writing on the screen, like the mouse thing?
this screencast,
Yes, sir.
it is another add-on. If you go into preferences, you go into add-on and then search screencast, it is over there. But why do you need it? I don't know. I'm doing this because I have a tutorial to run. So that's why. Anyways, coming back to this, it is a good practice so that you also know what is being typed. Yeah. Okay, cool. Uh, and if you need more information, search YouTube. You will get like all the tutorials you need for screencast. Coming back to this, now I want to rotate it and place it exactly 45-degree on this. So I will select these text, rotate, but only in the x-axis, and then 45. All right, it happened, but it
Minus
is, yeah. So I just need to change the direction. So I'll press minus, press enter. All right. So let me move it. And so snapping is active, but I want to constrain it in the x-axis. Always, always use constraints, x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. Because what I have seen is in your Blender table and chair, some participants are so confused. They don't know where the, or like the location of that object is in 3D space. The good way to know where your object is in 3D space is go by axis. First move in the x-axis, then in the y-axis, then in the z-axis, if it is getting too confusing. Okay. So even me, I also constrain it in so many axes. I can't move it freely wherever I want. Right? So because I constrained it in the y-axis, I know exactly that this is good. All right. I want it to move a little upwards like that. So if I press G and then Z, it it is moving in Z axis, but I want it to slide upwards in the 45-degree. So how do I do that? Now the concept of global and local comes. If you see over here, there is a global written over there. So if I go into local, and now if I go to press G and then Z, now it is moving perpendicular to this, whatever it is. Basically, again, coming back to that point, if I press Control A, we already know what scale does. Okay, it fixes bevels. So have I applied any, oh, sorry. Have I applied any of these to the text till now? Can somebody confirm? Yeah, have I applied anything to the text?
No.
no, sir.
Correct. So the text does not know that I have rotated it in the x-axis 45 degrees. The text does not know that I have done it because I have not applied it yet. So if I go into local space and then I press G, it is moving in all direction and I constrain it in the Z axis, the text still thinks that it is on the floor. And that is why it is moving in Z axis in that direction. Okay. So I can use this for my advantage. If I press Y, it will slide up and down. All right. Now this cool effect, it will get lost as soon as I apply rotation to this. If I press Control A and press rotation, oh, the scale has to be applied first, apparently. So let's say scale is applied. Now suddenly the thickness also increases. Why the thickness increases? Because 0.03, if you remember, the text was so big before, and 0.03 was this thickness. And then I scaled it down. So the thickness also decreased. But as soon as I applied the scale, the thickness goes back to 0.03 again. All right. Just remember, like weird things will happen if you start applying things. So now uh, over here, if I Control Z, this is the scale, like, because I had scaled it down in the beginning because text was too big. So if I just apply Control A and scale, this will become 1, 1, 1. Okay. Then I can reduce the thickness like that if I want to. But that I don't want to get into. That point why I want to show is there is something called global and something called local. That is all. If you want it to slide, if you're in global, because generally you will be in a global setting, and you want to move it in the Z axis, you can press Z twice. So, and similarly in the Y axis, press Y twice, it will go into local view. And that is how you can move it. All right. G, Z, Z, it is moving in this axis, and then I will come close to one of the vertices and then press it over here. I hope that is not very confusing. I went into a little depth, but that is how apply works. Okay. You can check more on YouTube what apply does. It gives you more examples. Now we are in a predicament. This was supposed to be too big, like big, but now it has become small. So how do I do this? Go into edit mode. Instead of edge, I'll go into face. I'll select this face and I'll select this face. And then I will move it in the Y axis. G, Y, move it a little bit so that there is enough space from the artifact to the edge. There is enough space. Okay, I've entered into another problem. That is my text is gone inside, but that is simple to do. G, Y, will go into side view and just move it so that there is another way to do it, better way. Instead of vertices, I will go into face. Okay, active. The snapping is still active. G, Y, and if I just go on top of this face, it will start snapping. See, it is not moving because it's snapping to that face. Okay. If I move away, if I go on top of this face, it starts snapping to that face and then press enter. So this is one way of doing things. The other good way of doing things is adding like posters. Okay, let's do that very quickly. One good way of getting, you will have a lot of photos of this. So you can use Canva to basically get a few photos of this. So let me quickly just get into uh, Canva and get you a photograph. I will do one thing. I will select this, go into uh, local view of the artifact. Then I will disable overlay. Okay. Then in view, viewport render image. So it will start rendering this. So this is another window altogether. Okay. It's called Blender render. Cool name. So basically this is like any image viewer on your Windows or Mac or whatever. It only shows you images. That is what it does. So whenever you try to render something, this will appear, this box. So you go to image, save it somewhere. So let me save it over here. And this is image. So it got saved somewhere. I will activate uh, overlays. I've already hit one more, well over 1 hour mark. Okay, so that is one thing. Let's just quickly go on to Canva. So this is Canva. Let's go into presentation. Now layout. Let's say this only. Let's select any nice layout over here. For example, this one. Now, all these are videos. What I want is like a nice thing. So let's say this, and I'll do this. Yeah, this should be a little bigger. And I can use the image which I just created and bring it over here. So I'll quickly do that. Okay, but this has a background. Maybe I can remove the background. Remove background. Please upload. Okay, let me upload.
You can
Yeah, tell me. I can crop it also. No, that's fine. I can crop it very quickly. I'll just make a small poster, okay? Just to be like, you will obviously spend more time. And I can send it to back, I guess. Layers, send to back. And move it to the right. I'll delete this, delete this. Okay, this, let's say this is one of the posters that I just created very quickly. I will just download this really quick. It needs to be, why is it so small? Okay, 100, yeah. I can download this really quick. Download, not a PDF, a JPEG or a PNG works. Let's say JPEG. Size and quality and all that is good. I'll say download. Starts downloading. Now I can use this as an image texture in my blend files. Poster one. So you can have multiple posters. Great. Let's come to this. I've already created a poster. I'll come to that, but let's quickly solve this issue. Now, both of them are, because they're of the same uh, color, no differentiation is there. So maybe I can add a material to this and make it different from whatever that is. So there's no material anywhere. We have not created any material. Let's click on new. Let's call it text material. And now I'm doing all of this before, like, I clicked on the text first, then I created a material. Okay, it'll save you a few steps if you do it this way, the order of clicks. So now there's differentiation. All right, great, looks great for now. Now let's just put a poster on the side. How can we do that? Let's add a plane. Now that plane is 2 meters by 2 meters. So in the material tab, the plane is selected. I will call this material, which I just created, poster one. And instead of base color, this will be image texture. As soon as I click on image texture, it will start asking you, where is the image? Now, so that is why it is black now, because no image is selected. So I'll just browse to wherever that image is. So this is the poster which we just downloaded from Canva. Open. All right, great. So I need to snap it to this wall. First of all, let me rotate it in the x-axis, 90-degree. And then I can snap it because snapping is already active for faces. G, Y, and I'll just hover on this face and click. So snapping is active. Let me go see the front view. I'll just move it over here. Now, all is good, but there's so much stretching happening. So I can fix that by scaling. Scale Z and stretch it. and put it like that. So as soon as I go close to the dimension that I want, I start pressing shift. So it will give me like finer control and then press enter. Okay. One last thing, there is Z fighting on the
Yes.
poster. So how can we fix that? We can extrude it. If I press tab, we're already in face select. Press E to extrude, hold shift and extrude it just a little bit, like so. So that Z fighting issue goes away. All right. So that is how you can create a poster, scale the artifact, put text, put a podium, all while keeping a human on the side so that you know which scale you're working with. This is understood? Yes? So can we
Yes,
add
sir.
posters of information on the wall? Yes. Basically, you can keep adding as many posters as you want, but just make sure that you design the poster properly. There is some nice visual continuity. You make one poster like this, and then let me just add another thing. And then you go back and you create another poster which looks like
Sir, you
this.
should go in elements. There are cool backgrounds in that.
Great. So basically what I suggest is go into templates. Templates gives you like crazy uh, things. But my point is, if you are in one style, stay in that style only. Don't like try to combine styles and color schemes. Got it? All right. You can obviously use elements to customize it even further, but start with templates. Start with templates and then move to uh, customizing it. What templates does is it already has like good designs in it. So you can start using them for your artifact. All right, great. So this is how you can make a basic exhibition. Now, if you remember, whenever I am moving anything, I am constraining it. That is pro tip. Always move in one direction. If you try to move in two directions at the same time, it will get confusing. Move in one direction, then the other direction, and things like that. You don't really have to use text. You can use a poster like this on top of this also. Like for example, Shift D, rotate in the x-axis, 45-degree, minus, enter. Now, how do I put this exactly in the center of this? That's a very cool trick over here also. I can use the 3D cursor, 3D cursor's help. If I go into tab, I'm already in face select. I will select this face. I will shift S, cursor to selected. Click this. So the cursor puts itself exactly in the center of the face. Okay. Now you know, I think, where I'm going at. Now, obviously, the origin has to be at the center. So that is one good way of doing this is Control Alt X. Origin to geometry will basically put it right in the center of this entire geometry. Once the origin is in the center, you can press Shift after selecting this Shift S, selection to cursor. Now it is exactly on top of that surface. Now I can scale it further, I think, to a point like that. I can hide this one for now. So you can use posters like this also. You don't have to use text. And one pro tip is this is a little shiny. So if you go and select this, go into material, go over here and increase the roughness to 1, then it stops become shiny. So if I put roughness to 0, you see it becomes really glossy. It seems like glass. But what the issue with this is, you can't read the text or the colors will become very disturbed because of the shininess. So if you increase the roughness, it's easier to read this. All right. Okay. A lot of
How to
things we
add
covered
a
today.
metal plate?
Sorry, say that again.
How to add a metal plate? Or
Stay
like,
away from stay away from shiny surfaces. The lesser you use them, the better.
okay,
Okay. All right. Cool. I think that is enough for today. Any
Sir,
more questions? Yes.
sir, I was actually not able to attend the previous lecture, so can you just show how to add the artifact to Blender?
Okay. Basically, what is happening is I have this artifact which I created previously. I just selected it, Control C, go to the other Blender, Control V. So this artifact is over here now.
Sir, but I have actually used the Kiri Engine app to make the photogrammetry. Now,
Everybody has used it. Yes.
what do I do to make the to add the grammetry to
Got it. Got it.
Blender?
Yeah. So basically, anything else? Anybody has any other doubts apart from this?
so should we have to add a wall kind of thing to the back of the artifact like
It
this? Yeah.
depends on the artifact. We can discuss about it on the slot booking, like whenever we have a meeting. Each artifact is different. And I think this year we are going to try out like new ways of uh, exhibition designs. So we'll figure out new ways of doing that. This is bare minimum that you have to do.
Yes.
This is bare minimum.
So can we extrude the wall so that it looks like a real wall with some thickness?
You will never see this. So when you are going to render, uh, okay, one other thing, if I start scaling it, the wall also basically starts moving away from the back. So let's quickly fix that also. This, I will come to your Renuka. I think your name is mentioned here as Renuka, but I'll come to you very quickly. Uh, go into edit mode of the floor and plane, and I will go into vertex select. I'll select these two vertices and then Control Alt X, origin to selected. So origin is going to be on the midpoint of this edge over here. Now, why did I do that? Now, if I scale it like so, now this wall is so big now. So basically, we are going to render it like this. We are not going to see the edges of the wall or the floor. All right.
Okay.
So no need to add thickness to the walls. Rajyot?
Sir, and so I'm
Hmm.
not able to add the pie menu, like install it.
You have to go over here,
So I'm
get
finding something
extension,
different.
get extensions.
Sir, I'm finding getting something different, like
3D viewport pie menu. You
okay.
have to be on this.
Yes, sir. I found it, sir.
Okay, cool. Next.
Thanks.
Prajyot,
Sir, if we did not put the wall, where can we put the posters?
you have okay. If you don't have a wall, where will you put the posters? Uh, I think a wall is important. I know what your artifact is. So your artifact should be away from the wall like this. And there should be a wall like that. You can put the
Okay, sir.
posters there. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Niharika?
Yes, sir. So I wanted to ask, so what now you have created? Is it the final? Like we have to submit it the way it is now for week 4?
No, this is week 6 submission. From now onwards, we are going to keep refining your uh, exhibition design to a level where it can be accepted by us to take it to the jury. So this is week 5 we are discussing. So end of week 5, we need like a basic structure over there, and then we can start making it better in week 6.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
in week 5 we want all this. You can put your hands down if you're done. Any more doubts? Then I will go back to photogrammetry doubts then. Prajot, you still have a doubt?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
For week 4, is it just the artifact?
Week 4, this is week 5, I think. Week 5, yes. Week 4, we have, yeah, basically week 4 is you optimize the photogrammetry that you made, you bring it to Blender, you delete everything else, and you just keep the artifact. And
Okay,
you
sir.
submit that basically.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Any other doubts? Cool. So I'll just quickly go to. Okay, somebody is asking a doubt.
Yes, sir. Sir, how is there any shortcut? So as the object we are doing, it's perfectly aligned to the parallelly to the grid. Rotate while
Oh,
rotating at the start.
in the beginning, when you got it from
Yes,
photogrammetry,
yes, sir.
no, you have to sit and like eyeball it, guess which one is the right side. You have to basically use the grid as background to start seeing if it is aligned properly or not. There is no shortcut because photogrammetry software does not know which one is which side is up. Photogrammetry software doesn't know all of that. So if you got a piece of the floor in your photogrammetry, then you can use the flatness of that floor to basically guide yourself to where up is in Blender. Did you
Okay.
understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, like
Niharika? Yeah, tell me.
also if the artifact we are using, it's in an open area with trees and all, and some
Uh-huh.
of the trees come into the artifact also. Can we remove them?
Yes, you have to remove them.
So like how can we remove them? It's on the
Yeah,
artifact. So some grass is on the artifact.
I'll have to see your artifact and we'll fix it there. So I'll do something over here. Maybe I'll repeat what we did last time. And if you find your answer there, then that is great. So just hang around. Niharika?
But, like
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
delete,
sorry.
deleting using the cube, sir.
Yeah, basically that only using
Like
modifiers. Mhm.
it's not that accurate. Like a
Yeah,
bit
it
crack.
will never be 100% accurate. It will be close to accurate, but never 100% you can't delete everything.
Thank you, sir.
Niharika?
Yes, sir. So I was asking that if our artifact is like attached to the wall or somehow, so
Yeah.
can we, is the artifact to be separated, means if the
Yes.
artifact is supposed to be keep separated from the wall and or should we attach it to the wall?
In your exhibition design.
Yes, sir.
For example, this artifact was attached to the wall. So I can, good way of doing it is like attaching it to the wall like that. Okay. Then there is so much space over here. So we can start basically moving this also
Okay, yes. Thank you, sir.
like that. And then like that. You can do this also. This is also acceptable. Tanmaya.
Sir, I've used a high poly model of the 3D object in Blender and it is taking a lot of time to upload. So do I have to do it in low poly?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
So which model is better, low poly or high poly?
Texture wise, there is no difference. If your computer is good, use high poly. If your computer is not able to handle it, then use low poly. My suggestion is low poly is good enough, because in the final submission, we're going to take high poly also and low poly also. Okay, so we are taking both. But for your exhibition design, because a lot of people will have many different specs, low poly is preferred.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay, coming back to the original question, like somebody has missed uh, the previous session apparently. So we're quickly going to do a recap on that. Oh, my 3D cursor is off from the center. So Shift S, cursor to world origin. It goes back to the center. Great. So how do you import? First of all, importing. Go to File, Import, and over here, basically CreateEngine gives you a OBJ file, object file. Okay, so you click on that. So this is the location where I have saved it. So let me just show you how that file also looks. Yeah. Where do you go? Yeah. So this is the file. So CreateEngine is going to give you these 6 files over here. 3D model, 3D model, 3D model, 3D model, low poly, low poly, low poly. JPEG means these are the image textures which are on top of this 3D model, and MTL is material file, basically the UV coordinates on how this JPEG is to be applied on the OBJ. Basically, I'll just show you what it is. Let me just close this. If I go into UV, select everything, you see this, right? So this is MTL file. This is what MTL file does. It basically tells Blender that these are the places where you have to take the material from, the image from, and apply it onto the object. So this is what MTL file does, this MTL file. So for normal high poly one, there is one, and normal low poly one, there is another one. All right. So don't get confused. If any of these files is missing, then you will be in trouble basically. So make sure they're all together in one folder. Uh, in this week, we have problem statement. Okay, let me check what problem statement we have this week. 1 second. I'll just come back to this. Yeah, this is becoming like a extended session. Sorry about this. Let me just quickly log in. Week 4 is not released yet. We will release it uh, in some time. Okay. And I will leave a note on the WhatsApp group on what to be done. Great. Let me just come back to this very quickly. So now we understood what MTL file does. Yeah. This is what MTL file does. Coming back to this, this we can hide for now. Let's say we call this final. and we can hide this. Cool. So we'll go into file, import, obj file. Now this is mtl obj low poly. Let's look at the list view from here. mtl obj mtl. So I will download like import low poly obj. Everything is fine. Scale 1:1, import. Now in this photogrammetry, we have a flat surface. So that is fortunate for us. So we know exactly where up is. So this is how your photogrammetry looks like. So we need to rotate it and make sure that it is upright. That is the first thing that you have to do. So you use these gizmos, you keep selecting X and Y, and let's go into, so how am I doing like sliding it? You like, it's like dragging with your mouse wheel, right? You press the mouse wheel and drag it left and right. You can do this, or you can use your mouse wheel to scroll up and down. It will go left and right. We'll go into front wireframe mode, and we will use this flatness. We know that this is flat. I will rotate it roughly, go into another side view, rotate it. I know this is a vertical section over here, and go into side view, rotate it, and I'll keep doing it till I find something workable, like very close to all that. So I'm basically looking at the grid at the back and the flatness of this and seeing if this is just flat enough. This is that flat. I think it could rotate a little bit more like that. Okay. Once X and Y axis is sorted, I will sort the Z axis. Great. Okay. So this is pro tip. Go by axes, x-axis, y-axis, x-axis, y-axis, and finally z-axis. So this is almost like roughly aligned. All right. I can check it also if I press Shift A, go plane, and move this plane and move it just about it. So this is good. This is a good indication that I did a good job basically. A lot of the plane is to be visible. Still, I can do better, I think. R, X, R, Y. Okay, fine. Like it can't be better than this. Yeah. So now we are going to use Boolean on this. How to use a Boolean? First of all, you need another shape. Shift A, cube, go into wireframe mode, and I will go into the edit mode of the cube. Go into the edit mode. Now, I am more comfortable with vertex selection. The other way to do it is face selection also. You can do this also, but I'm more comfortable with this. But let's take up a challenge. Let's use the face selection today. I'll select the face. I pressed grab so that it is moving, and then I can move it in the Z axis. So I'm not looking at the uh, chat at the moment. Let me just quickly go through this recap and then I'll come back to the chat. I will select this, move it close to the artifact. So I know the artifact is over here. So I'll just make sure I'm as close to is that possible. Okay, this is close enough. So I will select this face. To select a face, basically every face is going to have a dot right in the middle. So if you have to go close to that dot. If you want to select this face, you can't select it from the corner, okay? You have to select it close to the dot, then you get selected. So this face, and then I'll move it in the x-axis. So I've used Blender so many times that I remember which color is which axis. So RGB is XYZ. R is X axis, G is Y axis, and Z is blue axis. RGB XYZ. Okay, cool. So this is fine. This is fine. This is close to what I was thinking. I can't see the material. Yeah, I'm inside the cube. Okay, by the way. So basically, whatever makes you like take better decisions, do that. Z, I'll just move it just like that. Okay, it is cutting the artifact. So I need to bring it close to this over here. So GZ, so it gives me like a visual on how much is being cut. This seems like a decent cut. This is too close, I feel. So let me just move this a little bit. All right, that's fine, that's fine. Now the front side, okay. This is fine. This is fine. Now the back side, x-axis. This is fine. Maybe this time I will not take the wall and cut it like that. Yeah, I'll cut the wall a little bit. Okay, so the objective was to go as close to the artifact as possible without deleting any difficult this thing details. So the one good way is basically applying the modifiers and then seeing how much is being cut, but it is highly dependent on your specs, basically how good your computer is. So basically I made a bounding box around the artifact which closely comes as close to the artifact as possible. Now I can use this box to and Boolean modifiers. Now I want this to be affected, not this, but this artifact to be affected. So I'm going to select this artifact, go into modifiers, and then go into generate Boolean. And now it is asking me, I need this Boolean thing needs a object to be cut. Okay. So I'll click on fast first because fast means it basically has, these are two algorithms. Fast means it gives you like a rough estimate. I can select this cube. This cube is what I created. Now it is doing exactly the opposite of what I want. I can go on to intersect. And this gives you exactly the artifact. While I'm in this, I can go into edit mode and I can basically zoom in, zoom out, and I can actually check how much of the artifact is being cut. Okay. For example, I don't want this face over here. So I can move it in the y-axis to the point where that face is being cut. Cool. So that face is being cut. A little bit of face is over here. That's fine. I'll show you how to delete that also. While this is happening, so first let's apply it. Apply. And then you can move this away. So this is the artifact. All that extra information around the artifact is gone. Let's go into material preview. Yeah, close. So the previous artifact, if you see, it had the back wall, but this artifact doesn't have the back wall. Yeah. Now what to do with these things? Okay, there is this cool command in Blender called linked, select linked. So basically, if you select one vertex, I mean vertex select mode, if you select one vertex, go into select and then select linked and then go into linked. Whatever vertices which has an edge from this is going to get selected. For example, this did not get selected because there is no edge connecting this vertex and one. But if I make one edge between the two like this, and then I do the same linked command, this will also get selected now because I just created an edge between the two. Okay, so you understood what that does. It is very good in basically isolating the islands. These are called islands because they're like floating in space. So link, the shortcut is if you select, if your mouse should be on that island, this is one island, this is another island. Your mouse should be on that island and press L on your keyboard. It does the same thing. Basically select linked. And now I want to delete this. So Control I means inverse the selection. Whatever I have selected, make that true and false. Basically, it reverses everything. Now you can delete whatever islands are created by pressing X, delete vertices. So you can get rid of all these floating islands very easily by just two commands. Hover your mouse on the main subject, press L to select everything, Control I to invert selection, and then you can delete those selections. Okay. Now, because I have a pie menu active, origin to bottom. So the origin goes to the center and selection to cursor. Very simple. This is how you can clean your uh, model in Blender. Now you can delete this cube. You don't really need it. I hope that clarifies your doubt.
Yes.
Are you still there? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Any more doubts? Okay, now I'll go back to uh, the chat over here. So when do we have to submit? What do we have to submit on 20th March? On 20th March, you're supposed to submit this. Your artifact in Blender optimized and basically put in a folder like this. So this is Kiri engine files. This is the optimized Blender Goddess Parvati, basically the artifact optimized. These are new files which I just created, so you don't really need those. Oh, I deleted it. So what will happen over here is if I close and open this, these will start showing pink color because I just deleted those. Anyways, so in your 20th submission, 20th March submission, Kiri engine files and the Blender file with the optimized Blender. Got it? Great. We are supposed to submit only our artifact, but the artifact should be in the Blender. Then you can submit. Okay, cool. Awesome. Any more doubts? Okay, cool. I think we're very close to 2 hour mark. This is like a marathon, but uh, from now onwards, we are going to Tanmaya. You have a doubt.
Yes, sir. Before you optimized your artifact, behind that there was hollow. So what happened now? What did you do?
Oh, basically what is happening is when you do Boolean modifiers, sometimes it creates a surface and sometimes it does not create a surface. So how do we deal with this? So let me do this basically. Let me select this and delete this face. Sometimes this happens. Yeah. So I want a surface on this artifact over here, like at the back. So how do I do this? First thing, first and foremost is you have to see I'm in edit mode of this artifact. I'll just see this edit mode of this artifact. I'm in vertex select mode. First and foremost, I will delete duplicate vertices. So how do I do that? Again, I have to hover my mouse on the subject, press L to select linked, and then I can go into mesh, and then there should be merge by distance. So what this command does is if there are any duplicate vertices, so it's very difficult to know if two vertices are, if a position has two vertices or one vertice or three vertices, you don't really know. So this command, what it does, it starts collapsing those overlapping vertices. And if you see on the bottom left, it gives you like merge distance. This is basically a threshold. If I increase this, it'll start merging like 0.45. If any vertices is close or smaller than 0.45, it'll start merging them together. Okay. So this is what this does. Basically, it gets rid of all these extra vertices. That is step number one. Step number two, go back into edit mode. So I want to select this entire edge over here. So how do I do that? So there is a command over here. So something called loop selection. Just like loop cut creates new geometry, but you want to select a loop, the entire loop. So should I go ahead and like keep selecting manually? No, there is a shortcut to that. If you press Alt on your keyboard and then close to one vertex you will go, which is at the edge, and press on that once. So anything which is over there, which seems to be like a loop, is going to get selected. So this entire thing is selected now, if you can see properly. Yeah. So once this edge is selected, we can go into mesh. There is something called fill. So we're looking for fill over here. Maybe face. Okay. It's in face, all right, because we are creating a new face. There's something called fill. If you fill it, you'll start creating this. Now, of course, this doesn't look great because it creates like triangles, but it does the job. It creates the surface at the back. Now let's look at how the texture is working. So the front texture, it is taking that information from MTL file. This is new information. So MTL file doesn't have that. So this is black still. Okay. But we don't really need all of that because it anyways, nobody is going to see the back of the entire thing. All right. I hope you understood what this does.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Great. Any more questions?
So after you intersect with the cube, how do you reduce the sides of the cube? Like
You go into the edit mode of the cube.
like you after applying you go, or what?
Yes, because no, once you apply the modifiers, the change is permanent. Okay. So if you want to see how much the cube is cutting, you should do it while the modifier is still active. Once you are absolutely sure that this is what I want, then you can apply. Then no matter how much you change the cube in edit mode, the cutting cube, let's call it the cutting cube, then it won't be changed because now everything has been applied. The changes have been applied. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other question, guys? All right. Great. Okay. So marathon today, 2 hours. So tomorrow we have slots which Sanjana and I are going to take. So we are going to go through each one of you and sort out all your problems. And we are going to have slots the next day also and on Friday. So just keep your eyes peeled. I hope everybody is on the WhatsApp group. If you're not on the WhatsApp group, please reach out to me so that I can put you on that WhatsApp group. From now onwards, everything is history related and team effort. Arohi,
So I have already submitted my artifact. So, but if you have to make changes like you showed today,
you can
then
resubmit.
we can. Okay, so
All right. Cool. Any more doubts? No doubts?
No, sir.
All right, guys. All the best. All the best for your exams also. And do well. All right. I'll see you in the one on one sessions.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
I've stopped recording.